Hello everyone. Hello and welcome back to our channel. So excited and nervous at the same time for your re-NEET exam, right? You're about to give your paper in the next 6 days and you're quite nervous right now and you're quite worried that your physics is not complete right now. Your physics syllabus is not complete or you have not completed the revision till now, right? Now, first of all, you need to understand that this is not the time to study new chapters. You don't have to study any new chapters. Now, moving forward, in this today's video, we will discuss a re-NEET physics strategy which will be very crucial in the last 1 week before your exam. So, first thing, you don't have to do any new chapters. Just focus on completing those chapters which you have already studied. So most of the students make a huge mistake in the final week, and what they do, right? What they do really do is they start watching long lectures. They start watching, concept explanation videos. You start making new notes, and you suddenly try to fix all of your weaknesses. You pick up the most difficult topic which you are not actually able to understand completely, or which you are not confident about, and you are suddenly worried that because you don't know that topic you might not perform well in the exam. But my dear students, I will request you all that don't do that. Don't repeat that mistake. Your goal in the next 7 days is not to improve your physics knowledge. It is not to enhance your physics knowledge anymore. But your goal is now to increase your score as much as possible in the physics section, right? So you need to start by dividing all your physics chapters into three categories. I'm going to discuss those three categories one by one over here. The very first category will comprise of the chapters which you are comfortable in, right? The chapters which you are confident about, the chapters from which you are able to solve the numericals very well, and within the first go you are able to reach the correct answer. These chapters are those chapters which will actually, these chapters will actually guarantee your marks, right? These are short chapters. For these chapters, you just need to do two things. First, you need to revise the formulas from these chapters, all the formulas. Now, comfortable chapters will vary. Like for some students, they will be just 5 or 6. For some students, the number might be more. But all of you have to design your strategy according to your preparation. So first of all, you have to revise the formulas from these chapters. Second, you have to revise the PYQ questions which you must have marked, right? There might be some PYQs from these chapters which you are not able to solve in the first go. You just need to revise those questions. And doing these two things will actually guarantee you that you will not lose any easy marks here, that you will not lose any marks because you are not able to memorize or remember the formula at that point of time in the exam. So this is all about the comfortable chapters. Coming to the second category, and mind it, this is the most important category. And in fact, why this category is most important is that this category will actually increase your score. This will actually increase your score. Now, why is that so? If you read that in the second category, come those chapters which are partially known. So, I have just written partially known chapters. Basically, these are those chapters which you have completed partially. Either you are not able to, comprehend the numericals, or you are not confident about the complete theory of these chapters. Like, there could be any reason, but you are not completely confident about these chapters. But mind it, students, that these chapters will be the biggest score improvers. The biggest score improvers. And why is that so? That because you are halfway there. You're halfway in like confident with the chapter. Only the 50%, the later 50% of the path is left. And how you have to complete that path is, first of all, you need to focus more on these chapters. Second thing, these partially known chapters, I believe that in 70 to 80% for 70 to 80% of the students, these chapters, these partially known chapters will include your current electricity, your ray optics, your electrostats, and your modern physics. I believe that these will be the 4 units. Out of these 4, at least you will also have 2 in your bucket, wherein you are not completely confident about these chapters. And the biggest problem is that all these units have a very good amount of weightage. All these units have a large weightage in the NEET exam. So now what you need to do for these chapters, you don't have to reread the theory, you don't have to, read the textbook now, because we are just left with a handful of days. What you have to do is you must have created a formula notebook. For these chapters, you just have to revise the formulas. You have to try and solve as much as PYQs as you can from these chapters, and you just need to focus on easy and moderate PYQs at this point of time. Don't try to touch or don't try to even solve the hard ones, hard PYQs, because that will lead to wastage of time. Doing these 2 things for these partially known chapters will actually boost your confidence, and it will also increase your marks, right? Coming to the third categories are unknown chapters. So unknown chapters, for example, it might be rotational motion for many of you. Now you don't have to spend, hours and hours understanding or, studying rotational motion altogether. Or it might be any other chapter with which you have struggled for all across your preparation phase, right? Over here in this category, our aim is not to score 100%, our aim is not to score a 80%, it's not to score 70%. But from this category, our aim is to score as much as possible. As much as possible. And why do I say as much as possible? I will say, in fact, as much as realistically possible. That how can you do that is that you don't have to leave entire chapter from scratch. Like, I won't suggest that you leave rotational motion aside, you don't even study a single word. In fact, what I will recommend is you just try to remember, and you just try to remember all the formulas from that chapter. You just memorize the symbols, what do they mean, and you just, do a basic brush up of your notes, the shorthand notes or the detailed notes which you might have prepared while studying. Just brush up those. And I believe that doing only these 2 things, brushing up your revision notes and remembering or, memorizing the formulas, you will be easily able to solve 30 to 40% of the questions. So now over here, our aim is to extract as many marks as possible. Now let's talk about what you should revise and in which order you should do your revision. So the very first chapter which you should revise is, or the very first unit which you should revise should be modern physics. Modern physics, every year, very highly predictable questions come from this unit. You can also take a look at the, classes which I took on this same channel. In modern physics, you just need to ensure you remember or you revise all the graphs properly. You remember the formulas, and you know how to basically use the formula for basic, simple, easy and formula based questions. The second unit should be semiconductors, right? Semiconductors also has a huge weightage, and it is comparatively easier to understand. The third unit should be units and dimension. Units and dimension, it is a relatively easier topic, easy to score, and has a quite a good weightage in your exam. Then fourth should be your current electricity. Current electricity again has a very good weightage, and there is a certain pattern which has been noticed from the past years, that the type of questions which come from current electricity are sort of a repeated pattern. Like, not all the questions, of course, but at least 60 to 70%. Then last thing should be your optics. I would not only say ray optics, but wave as well, the complete optics unit. So these should be the first 5 units which you should revise in depth. And on these chapters, on these units, you have to invest your maximum amount of time, because that will give you maximum return. Next, the next rule is simple. Every day, you just need to train your brain, just need to train your mind to solve at least 40 to 50 physics questions. and you need to time those 40 to 50 questions according to the time which you have in your exam. For example, now you have 3 hours 15 minutes for your paper and you decide that you will dedicate 1 hour to physics. Then you need to time those 45 questions. You need to pick 45 questions and need to set a timer of 1 hour in that day, and make sure that you are solving the questions from a mixed bank and not chapter wise. Because if you already know that this question is from this particular chapter, you will not actually get stuck. So you just need to do this. Secondly, the main benefit which you will get from practicing the mixed questions is that you are basically training your mind to switch between concepts quickly. And that is the biggest, I would say, the block which actually happens with most of the students in exam. You should train your mind to switch from one concept to the other quickly, because in exam all the 45 questions will be mixed, right? Next, you need to just ensure that all the questions which you solved, then you have to analyze them. For example, you got a question wrong, then you need to ask yourself some questions. Was this a concept error? Was this a formula recall error? You are not able to recall the formula. Was this a silly mistake, or was this a time pressure mistake? Like you felt a lot of pressure and by mistake you committed some calculation mistake. So students who analyze the mistakes, they usually improve faster than those students who just keep on solving and solving and solving the questions, right? So make sure you do a thorough analysis and you make sure that you don't repeat the same mistake the very next day. Another important point, for the next 7 days, you have to at least revise your physics formula notebook 14 times. So on an average, I am taking, you revise your formula notebook once in the morning and once in the evening before sleeping. Twice daily for the next 7 days. Every formula you forget, every time you do a question, you need to write that formula again on a piece of paper, and just stick it in front of a wall. Then uh, let's talk about the exam itself. So you do not start your paper with your weakest physics question. For example, if the first question, the second question, the third question in your exam is from a topic which you are not confident about, you don't have to feel anxious. Just keep moving on to the question from till the time a topic on which you are confident about, that question arrives, right? Then you have to, first of all, in the very first go, you have to solve all the direct questions. In the second go, you have to solve the moderate questions. Then in the later part of the exam, in the last some time, when you have, if you get some extra time or if you get some good amount of time left, then you have to, try and solve the lengthy calculations. This will improve your confidence and prevent panic. I'm sure that this strategy which I have discussed today, it will at least land you a score of 120 plus in your physics section. And just remember that 120 plus is a pretty good score in physics. Now, for the next 7 days, you just need to remember one mantra, that your retention is very much important from new learning. Retention and revision. You just need to follow these 2 R's, right? And maintain your discipline. Be hydrated, maintain a good balanced diet, and maintain a healthy frame of mind. All these things will definitely help you. Thank you so much for watching today's video. See you in the next video.